Hello and welcome to this talk on how you can start your web app penetration testing journey. My name is Dr. Sunny Ware. A little bit about myself. I do hold a Doctor of Science degree in cybersecurity. I work as a security architect and also a web app penetration tester. I've authored some books that you can find on Amazon, and I also teach courses related to web security and cybersecurity penetration testing. You can find my website here, sunsoulsec.com. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as my Twitter account. I do have some courses available on Pluralsight. All three of those courses are related to Burp Suite. I've also written a book on Burp Suite called the Burp Suite Cookbook that you can find on Amazon. And just recently I wrote a mobile app called Burp Tool Buddy that is available on iOS App Store and Android Google Play Store. This mobile app basically helps people with knowing how to configure and calibrate their Burp Suite. So let's talk about the areas of focus. In order to spark interest in web application penetration testing, I feel like we need to focus on 4 different areas. Tools. What types of tools do we need to look at and employ in order to learn more about web app penetration testing? Secondly, what are the disciplines involved? What does somebody need to have as far as a foundation? Third, how can you take all of this knowledge and personalize it and make it a showcase for the skills that you offer? And then finally, do you have the right aptitude for doing this sort of thing? Is this something that you might find interesting? Let's begin with the tools. So first of all, what you need in order to perform web app penetration testing at a very minimum is an intercepting proxy. So the 2 most popular intercepting proxies are Burp Suite and OWASP Zap. Now Burp Suite is a product that's written by Portswigger, and it comes in a community edition, professional edition, and enterprise edition. For most people that start delving into the world of web app penetration testing, buying the professional version of Burp Suite is probably their first big purchase, their first big step in the world of penetration testing. Now, I'm not really going to go into the differences between Zap and Burp Suite, but I will say Zap is completely free. And because there's been so much wide support for Zap, there are plugins available for Zap to perform extra activities, just as there are for Burp Suite. So the acceptance of Zap over the past several years has really expanded. I would say that Burp Suite is a tool that's designed for penetration testers, whereas Zap is a tool that's designed for developers. The reason why I make this distinction is because Burp Suite, though both are intercepting proxies, Burp Suite actually is geared for more of an attacking mindset, in that there are lots of tools that allow you to surgically digest bits and pieces of a request in a very easy manner once you know how to use the tool. OWASP Zap could probably do many of the same things that Burp does, but I believe that it's probably better geared for CI/CD processes or dynamic scans against a target application. And this is because it was sort of designed from the beginning to be used as a development tool. Okay, so what do these tools actually do? Whenever you look at a web page, when you have an intercepting proxy, the traffic that flows between your browser sitting on your laptop and that traffic that's going to the web server or coming back from the web server can be intercepted by these proxies. So these proxies sit on your local laptop. And so what they do is they'll take that request as it's going to that web server remotely, and they'll capture that traffic. And then after capturing it, you can replay that traffic, you can change values in that request. And then what you're doing is when you send it to the web server, you're seeing if the reaction of the web server may actually reveal some sort of vulnerability. So that's the main idea behind intercepting proxies. Of course, you should only use these products when you have authorization to actually attack a target application. So let's talk a little bit more about this intercepting proxy. So this is your browser over here, and you're surfing the internet, and you go to some website. Of course, in order to proxy any of the traffic between your browser and this web server, you must have authorization. So you need to have that in a contract. What Burp Suite does is it sits on your machine but captures this traffic between your browser and the web server. And what gets captured in here can then be viewed in order to look at requests and responses. And by looking at these requests and responses, you can look at the headers, you can look at parameters, you can look at the body of a post. You can manipulate those values before they go to the web server in order to see how that application responds to those changes. And you can capture the responses here too before they're seen back in your browser. So let's have a demo of exactly how this works. So let's have a demo and better understand how an intercepting proxy works. So I've got Burp here. I've started a temporary project. And in the newer versions of Burp, you can open a browser in the proxy settings. This browser will automatically have Burp Suite's PortSwigger's CA certificate installed in it. So if you want to capture traffic over HTTPS, it's already installed. Pretty convenient feature. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place Burp on one side and my browser on the other side so that we can have a better view of what is happening. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to browse to a website that is designed to be vulnerable. It's available on the internet, and it is a known vulnerable website for educational purposes. Okay, so what you can see is the moment that I browsed there, you can see the URL is now shown in my target tab of Burp. Now I can expand this branch and I can see that Burp has already done sort of a crawl against this site. So it has sent some crawling probes to determine links on this page. And so everything that's represented in gray is part of those probes, part of that crawling where it saw a link. It did not actually send a request response. I know that because it's still in gray. Anything in black means that a request and a response, a request was sent and a response was received. If we look at some of these things in gray, you'll see there aren't any responses. So what we can do from here is we can examine everything that flows between this website and its web server, just like we saw in the picture. Now we can observe these things in a reactive mode or even in an active mode, and I'm going to explain the difference. So what we've just done, like when we hit this refresh button, is just reactive. We're just looking at something passively. And we can view that traffic in this HTTP history table. This is a chronological table of every request that's gone through. Now you can see that I've gone from numbers 1 to 10 to 11. So you might think, well, that's kind of weird. What happened to numbers 2 through 9? So there are things that have been placed out of scope. We could put those things back in scope if we wanted to see all of the requests. And here you can see, so there are a lot of images, there's a style sheet, etc. Now, a lot of times when we're looking at this traffic, we may not be interested in images and style sheets. So that's the biggest reason why these are not on. So I'm going to go back to this. Now you can play around with these numbers. If you wanted to see the request that was hit first, you could switch them around. However, most people probably will have these numbers in the most recent request first because they want to see the most recent request come to the top of this list. So if I click something here, you can see that that most recent request that clicked sign in is now at the top of my list. What you can also see is it tells me the verb that was used when I clicked the sign in. So it was a get, tells me the name of the file that was invoked. In this case, it's login.jsp. It gives me the name of the host. So the name of this host is demo.testfire.net. It also displays cookies to me. And then you'll have some other header information. Of these, probably user agent would be of interest as well. This tends to be a good spot to put some payloads into. So I'm going to log into this. And the creds are admin. And I'm going to show you how to do some discovery live. So before I click this login, I can turn this intercepting proxy on. So it's always intercepting. But if you want to capture a request inside of Burp before it goes to the web server, then you can toggle this interceptor on and off. So right now it's on, so I'm going to click login. And so what I'm doing is I'm capturing the request before it's being sent to the web server. And you can see there's the username and password that I clicked there. Now, before I click forward to send it on to the web server, I want to show you some options that you can set in order to capture your responses. So you'll notice that the intercept client request is always on by default, and that's good. but the intercept server responses is turned off. We want to turn that on. I actually want to see the responses before they come back to my browser. And I generally tell people that we want to be in a position to capture everything, especially when it comes to APIs where you have a lot of varying types of responses. So now we are set up to see not only where we have it held here with the request, but now we're set up to see the response that comes back from the web server before it's displayed in the browser. So let's go ahead and forward this now. So we get a 302 found, which any redirect, you know it's generally going to be that we've logged in successfully. You can see by this header that it has a location. This is going to tell the browser to go to the /bank/main.jsp. And so I'm going to forward that. There you can see the get. This is the get call to go to that main.jsp. And this is the response before we're seeing it in the browser. So you know it's the response because you have this status code here, 200 OK. And so I'm going to forward that. And now you see the new page. So this is really just a quick way to get you acclimated to all of the power that's available to you inside of an intercepting proxy. Specifically, this is Burp Suite. And there are lots more tools here, a lot more information to go through. I have online courses that you can take that you can learn all about this stuff. But hopefully this has piqued your interest on learning more about web application penetration testing. So let's take a look at how you could be trained on web app penetration testing. First, we're going to look at the free tools. So OWASP is a great site. It's a consortium of different volunteers as well as companies, and it has become the standard for web app penetration. It has become the standard for anything web security. It stands for Open Web Application Security Project. Another great source is Hack the Box. Now, Hack the Box is going to be more hands-on, whereas OWASP is more of a reference page. VulnHub is another great one. VulnHub allows you to download VMs and to run them locally. They have a lot of boot-to-root type VMs that you can hack, and walkthroughs are widely available. The difference between VulnHub and Hack the Box is VulnHub is a local VM that you can run on your machine. Hack the Box, all of the machines that you'll be attacking, you actually have to have a VPN connection to. WeHackPurple.com is another great site for some free content. They do podcasts and also have other materials available. There are also some free security podcasts, application security podcasts. This list is not exhaustive by any means, but it's just it's just a way to get you started on where you can start looking for materials related to hacking web applications. So let's take a look at the paid side. Plowsite is a training site that offers a lot of different cybersecurity related courses. As I mentioned, I've got 3 of them on there myself, but it is a great place with a wealth of knowledge. Udemy, they offer training courses. They are quite reasonable, and usually you can get them at a discount. Everything under the sun, from bug bounty hunting to web app penetration testing. eLearn Security, this is a great source for really focusing your training to be directed towards some sort of certification, which they do offer. And then SANS, I would be remiss without mentioning SANS. SANS is a world-class training center, and they offer courses all around the world. They are probably the most expensive of any of the options, but you get the very best in instruction and material and hands-on activities. So a lot of people focus on certifications. I would say you need to blend your certifications with good learning. When it comes to web app penetration testing, a lot of companies will look to see if you have the WAPT. So this is basically the web app penetration testing certification by SANS. It is highly esteemed and it is highly recognized. eLearn Security, they also offer their own certification. I do recommend their certification. It may not be as widely recognized, but it's really good practice. The way that they did their exam forces you to do an entire pen test and write a report. I think that's a good first step, particularly to see if this is something that you're really interested in, because it is going to be what you would be doing. I also recommend, for well-roundedness, some interdisciplinary certifications. Could be CISSP or maybe some others that are more blended. This gives you a better idea of how web app penetration testing might fit into the software development lifecycle, as well as cybersecurity as a whole. Okay, let's take a look at the disciplines needed to start building your skill set. So when it comes to information technology in general, just setting aside cybersecurity for just a moment, there are really 3 main pillars that you're going to have to know something about: programming, networks, and databases. Now, you don't have to be an expert in all 3 of these, but you're never going to get away from these 3 subjects, so you may as well try to learn a little bit about each of them. And I would recommend that you kind of focus on one of them as your niche. So, programming experience. There are lots of fun alternatives here. You could focus on web development or front-end development. You could do mobile apps, single-page applications, which basically are heavy JavaScript frameworks. If you wanted to focus on back-end development, there's database work, web services, REST APIs, microservices. These days, there's not really a particular language that is more sought after than another. Although I would say if you're trying to just learn about programming and you don't have any prior experience, Python is definitely a good language to start with. It's easy to pick up, You can write it as a scripting language. You could write it as an object-oriented language. You can get pretty deep with Python. Once you understand and thoroughly master one language, other languages will be much easier to understand. The other thing that I would recommend is that you start a GitHub page if you're going to go down the programming experience route and create a project for yourself. Maybe your project is as simple as mapping out your cybersecurity path or your web application penetration testing journey. Whatever it might be, make a project for yourself and make it personal. This will really help you to learn programming. Networking. You've got to know how networks work together. At a very basic level, you've got to know the OSI and TCP models. If you really start getting into networking, start learning about software-defined networks. Once again, there's this fallback to programming that you'll see there as well. Now, if you're still struggling to know what to get interested in this area, you can subscribe to newsletters, or you can watch podcasts, things from Black Hills Information Security, Security Weekly, ThreatWire, etc. Once again, there's lots of resources. I'm just showing you a few here. Database knowledge. When you go to do an attack, and it's a SQL injection attack, you have to know what SQL is. So these are some of the fundamentals of databases. I recommend that you pick a particular database implementation like MySQL, which is free, and start using it. Start creating tables. Start inserting data into those tables. Start understanding how to structure your programming to connect with databases. There are also lots of DEF CON talks or trainings that are related to SQL injection, and this will help you to build your knowledge in this area. Make it your own. So this is the personalization section. So when it comes to hacking, a lot of times people that are new to cybersecurity, they just want to get a penetration testing job, but they don't have the skills and they don't have the foundation, the things that we just went through. And they want to know, well, how do I gain these skills? I need a job. Well, before you could possibly get hired for that job, you need to start practicing those skills. Capture the flags is a great way to start working on those skills. Now, SANS, they offer CTFs for free, particularly during the pandemic. And so I would highly encourage you to sign up for their newsletter and start reading their emails and look for these free CTFs. Security Innovation. This company is really great at offering free CTFs, particularly for new people that are new. They generally offer them around major holidays, US holidays, but they're open to people all around the world. And then, of course, there's ctftime.org. This is a one-stop location for finding CTFs that are being done everywhere. You can even join CTFs that start in the middle of the night where you live. And all you need is a team, and the team can be just you. It's a lot of fun. It's a big learning experience, and you will get to see all different sorts of puzzles and attacks. Hacking villages. There's several hacking villages available at this conference. but you'll also find them at DEF CON, maybe your local B-sides, and OWASP chapters. Finally, one of the best ways for you to really learn a subject is to do a talk. I definitely encourage you to find something that you love and do a talk on it, and you will learn so much about that particular topic. Aptitude. So, what type of person should be more inclined to really enjoy a career like this? Well, certain personality characteristics might help. For example, if you enjoy solving puzzles, things that you have to really analyze and take a look at. If you enjoy math, if you enjoy tinkering, any of these things can pull you into this particular line of business and give you something that will spark your intellectual curiosity. Now, in a lot of these positions, you are spending time at the computer. So if spending time at the computer is not something that you like, you may not want to look into penetration testing necessarily. Although there are different aspects to penetration testing that you could certainly do that are more social, such as project management or acting as security liaisons between the business and the penetration testers. But these are the types of questions that you should be asking yourself. I also wanted to provide some workplace hints. So let's say that you're working at a big company right now, but your current job is not related to cybersecurity. If that company really values you and you're shifting your career into more penetration testing or incident response or something like that, then those opportunities should be available to you. And that company should be willing to support you in your shift. Now, what you can do is you can approach your manager or you can approach management and you can post for other jobs. But just talking with other people sometimes is enough to let you know if you have the skill set yet, or maybe they can give you some ideas of what you need in order to be qualified for that job. The other thing I want to mention is once you start down your cybersecurity journey, and let's say it's penetration testing, web app penetration testing, it's very important that you feel like you're getting compensated properly. So you should be getting promotions probably every 2 years or so, or at least if you're not getting a promotion, getting the appropriate raises. You need to have that managerial support that lets you know that your manager is looking out for you, that they want to keep you happy, that they know that your skill set is valuable. And this includes annual training. Training is really important. Training doesn't have to be expensive, but it does have to be something that occurs quite frequently because this industry changes too drastically in order to just have 1 week of training a year. So you need to have a manager or a supporting team that is continuously learning. So the training can be daily. Maybe you have 45 minutes out of every day that the team takes to learn something new or talk about a new hack or talk about a breach in an article, whatever it is. All of that time is learning time and is very important to in order to keep you updated on what the latest attacks are.